A long time ago, there lived twin sisters, Anya and Nia, in a small village where every face was familiar and every neighbor felt like kin. From the very moment they were born side by side, Anya and Nia were a wonder. They shared the same round eyes, the same bright smiles, and the same quick minds. As children, their bond was a thing of beauty, a dance of two spirits in perfect harmony. They chased butterflies through the tall grasses, their giggles echoing across the fields. They would spend hours by the river, weaving crowns of reeds for each other, sharing secrets whispered only between them. If one felt a pinch, the other would wince. If one burst into joyful song, the other's heart would sing along. Yet, even in their sameness, there were differences, as the changing seasons, almost unnoticed at first. Anya, with her bright, open face and graceful way of moving, was like a vibrant bird, always drawing eyes. Her voice, when she sang the village welcome songs, was clear as morning dew, and her hands, even as a young girl, moved with magic when she wove baskets or cloths. People would stop their work, their faces breaking into smiles of admiration whenever Anya performed. "Ah, Anya, child of grace!" they would exclaim. Nia, on the other hand, carried a deeper, quieter strength. Her eyes held a knowing wisdom beyond her years, and her touch, though gentle, possessed a quiet power. She had a profound connection to the earth and its secrets. She knew which leaves could soothe a fever, which roots held courage, and the stories the trees whispered in the wind. When a child fell ill or a goat strayed, it was often Nia's quiet observation or her knowing of the forest paths that brought comfort or a solution. But her gifts, like the strong roots of a great tree, were hidden beneath the surface. Her wisdom was often shared in soft words to one person, her healing done with a quiet hand. While Anya received open, ringing praise, Nia's contributions, though just as vital, often went by without much fanfare. This was the tiny, almost invisible seed of difference. As the sisters blossomed into young women, that tiny seed began to stir. It was not a sudden burst, but a slow, creeping growth, like moss on a shaded stone. Whenever Anya presented her latest, brightly colored weaving, the compliments would flow like the river itself. Nia, standing beside her, would offer a genuine smile, but sometimes a cold feeling, like a sudden chill in the midday sun, would stir deep within her. It was the first, uninvited whisper of the spirit of jealousy, a cold shadow stretching its fingers around her heart. It started with small moments. When the young men of the village flocked to hear Anya's stories and songs by the evening fire, Nia would feel a tightness in her chest. She'd catch herself forcing a smile, her eyes not quite reflecting the joy. The spirit would murmur in her mind, sly and persistent, "They see only her, Nia. Your hands work just as hard, your wisdom is just as deep. Why do her praises ring louder?" The whisper would tell her that Anya's light was somehow stealing from her own, dimming her existence. Nia would find herself secretly wishing, just for a moment, that Anya wouldn't shine so brightly, that perhaps a stray thread in Anya's weaving would break, or her voice would falter in a song. These were shameful thoughts, quickly pushed down, but they left a bitter residue. The spirit of jealousy was not a roaring beast. It was a quiet, insidious poison. It clung to Nia's heart, clouding her sight. It made her see Anya's successes as her own failures, Anya's blessings as her own curses. A forced cheer when Anya was celebrated, a subtle withdrawal when compliments flowed her sisters' way. The genuine joy Nia once felt for Anya began to wither, replaced by a dull ache of resentment she couldn't name. a constant nagging, comparison that stole her peace. As the spirit grew stronger, its influence began to show, like cracks appearing in a clay pot. The laughter that once bound Anya and Nia became strained, then silent. Their shared tasks, like pounding yam or gathering firewood, became burdens. Where they once moved as one, now there was a hesitant space between them, an unspoken tension. Small arguments, seemingly about nothing, would erupt over who fetched the water or whose turn it was to sweep the hut. They would avoid each other's gaze, the easy flow of their sisterhood replaced by a choppy, uneasy silence. The community, with their wise, observing eyes, began to notice. Mama Nkechi, the eldest and most respected woman in the village, whose skin was lined with the stories of 100 seasons, watched the twins with a heavy heart. She saw Anya's confusion, her longing for the sister who was slipping away. She saw Naya's guardedness, the way her smile didn't quite reach her eyes anymore. The villagers would whisper, "The twin sisters, once like one soul, now walk separate paths. What shadow has fallen between them?" The once unbreakable bond was fracturing, piece by painful piece. Then a heavy season fell upon the village. Not the gentle rains, but a time of true trial. A mysterious sickness, like a cruel thief, slipped into the village, claiming the strength of the youngest children. Their fevers burned hot, their small bodies grew weak, and their cries of distress filled the usually joyful air. A great sorrow settled over every home. The respected village healers, with all their wisdom, brewed their strongest potions, chanted ancient prayers, and consulted the spirits. But the sickness persisted, its grip tightening with each passing day. Fear, cold and bitter, was a constant taste in every mouth. Mothers clutched their children's eyes wide with desperation. It was in this time of deep despair that Nia, quiet Nia, whose hands had always worked wonders with the earth's bounty, remembered the ancient remedies her grandmother had taught her. Special herbs, hidden deep within the oldest parts of the whispering forest, known only to a precious few. While others despaired, a quiet resolve settled on Nia's face. The memory of a small child's fading breath moved her more than any whisper of the spirit. With a courage that shimmered brighter than any outward beauty, she ventured into the deep woods, where shadows lengthened and strange sounds echoed. She searched, her senses sharp, remembering every lesson, every leaf. She returned to the village, her arms laden with bundles of rare plants, their leaves glistening with morning dew, smelling of earth and hope. With steady hands and a heart full of desperate purpose, she pounded the herbs, mixed them with cool river water, and prepared a potent brew, following grandmother's instructions precisely. One by one, the ailing children were given Nia's remedy. Slowly, miraculously, the fevers began to break. The children stirred, their breathing eased, and the light returned to their eyes. Weak smiles began to bloom on their small faces. Nia's quiet strength and deep knowledge, once a hidden root, now blossomed for all to see. The villagers, their hearts overflowing with relief and gratitude, hailed her as a blessing from the ancestors. They sang her praises in songs of thanksgiving, telling tales of her bravery and wisdom, bringing her into a light she had never experienced before. Their gratitude was a bright sunbeam shining directly on Nia. This sudden, powerful outpouring of admiration for Nia, especially in a time of such great need, became the fertile ground for the spirit of jealousy to rage in Anya's heart. It was a storm within her, twisting her love into resentment, her admiration into a bitter pain. Her own gifts, her singing that now seemed to offer no comfort, her weaving that could not heal, felt small and useless against Naya's life-saving triumph. And for the first time, jealousy whispered to her too. She has truly surpassed you now. She wants your light. She wants all the praise." The once loving gaze Anya cast upon her sister now held a flicker of coldness, a storm of resentment, threatening to break their bond completely, just when the village needed unity most. Anya's mind became a battlefield, her heart a cage of tangled emotions. The village elder, Mama Nkechi, with eyes that held the wisdom of countless seasons and a heart as vast as the sky, watched the sisters with a heavy heart. She saw the shadow that hung between them, the bitterness in Anya's forced smile, and the quiet hurt in Nia's withdrawn gaze. She knew the poison that was at work. One evening, as the sun dipped below the river, painting the sky in fiery colors of crimson and gold, Mama Nkechi sent for both Anya and Nia to come to her hut. Inside, the air was heavy with unspoken words, with the weight of shattered shared memories. Mama Nkechi looked from one twin to the other, her gaze warm and unwavering, her voice soft, yet it carried the weight of ages, the resonance of ancient truths. "My children," she began, "you are like two streams flowing from the same mountain, meant to meet and become a great river, strong enough to carry the village's boats and water its fields. But now there is a stone in your path, a jagged stone that causes your waters to turn away from each other, creating separate, lonely paths. This stone, my dear ones, is born of comparison, a whispering fear that tells one that the other's light somehow diminishes their own." Anya's eyes welled with tears, hot and sharp, and Nia's lower lip trembled, her own pain raw and visible. Mama Nkechi continued, "The light each of you carries is your own, given to you by the ancestors themselves, unique and beautiful. One's brightness does not lessen the other's. It should instead make the whole world brighter. But when we allow the spirit of envy to whisper in our ears, it blinds us. It blinds us to our own rich blessings, the gifts we possess that are just as precious, and it blinds us to the unique beauty and strength of those we love most, turning joy into resentment." The words, though gentle, pierced through the spirit's lies that had clung so tightly to Anya and Nia's heart. It was as if a veil was lifted. For the first time in a long time, they saw each other not as a rival. It wasn't Nia or Anya who had stolen their light. It was the spirit that had stolen their joy, their peace, their love, and most painfully, their bond. The realization was a painful awakening, a recognition of the destructive path she had allowed herself to walk, a path that led to loneliness. Nia felt the sting of truth. Mama Nkechi's words illuminated her own quiet resentment, the hurt she had nursed from feeling unseen, and she understood how her own withdrawal had deepened the chasm between them. The realization for both was a painful, yet necessary awakening, a recognition of the damage they had both in their own ways allowed to fester. Nia, filled with deep remorse after Mama Nkechi's words, had to swallow her pride. She had to actively fight against the lingering whispers of the spirit that tried to cling to her, urging her back into cold resentment. With a trembling heart, Nia went to Anya, not with accusations of being overlooked, but with humble apologies, hot tears streaming down her face. She confessed the bitterness that had taken root, the ugly envy that had twisted her heart and made her act so coldly, withdrawing from the sister she loved. Anya, whose own heart had ached from the growing distance, and Nia's silent resentment, listened with a mixture of pain and profound understanding. She saw the genuine sorrow in Nia's eyes, the true remorse that shone through her tears. In that moment, the powerful love they had always shared, the very first bond formed in their mother's womb, began to push back the darkness that had settled between them. They held each other, and the years of unspoken hurt, began to melt away in the warmth of their embrace. They began to mend their bond, thread by difficult thread, like master weavers repairing a cherished cloth. They started by listening to each other, truly listening without judgment. Anya began to truly see and appreciate Nia's quiet strength, her deep wisdom, and her life-giving connection to the earth. She celebrated Nia's healing gifts, not with a forced smile or a hidden thought, but with genuine, open pride, loud enough for the whole village to hear. She would share stories of Nia's bravery in the forest, her quick thinking during the sickness, making sure Nia's contributions were known and honored. And Nia, in turn, celebrated Anya's vibrant spirit, her beautiful voice that lifted the entire village in song, her hands that brought beauty into every home with her weaving. She spoke of Anya's grace, her ability to bring light and laughter wherever she went. They learned to celebrate each other's unique lights, understanding that one's brightness could not, ever dim the other's. They were two suns rising side by side, illuminating the world more brightly together. The spirit of jealousy, finding no fertile ground in hearts now filled with genuine appreciation, love, and understanding, slowly retreated. It found no foothold where love and gratitude bloomed, and its power over them was broken. The seasons passed, and the bond between Anya and Nia grew stronger than ever before, forged anew in understanding, forgiveness, and mutual respect. They learned that true contentment comes not from comparing one's journey to another's, but from celebrating one's own unique gifts and truly valuing the distinct beauty and contributions of those around us. They became an example to all, a living testament to the power of sisterhood and the triumph over the inner shadows that try to divide us. The village rejoiced in their renewed harmony, their laughter once again ringing true and clear, a joyful sound echoing through the fields. This tale reminds us to guard our hearts fiercely against the silent whispers of jealousy, for it can dim the brightest lights and break the strongest bonds, turning joy to sorrow and love to bitterness. But it also teaches us that with humility, open hearts, deep understanding, and a willing spirit to see the true beauty in ourselves and others, we can overcome even the darkest shadows. The path to healing is never easy, but the reward is a bond strengthened beyond measure. As you reflect on Anya and Nia's journey, consider what silent whispers might be trying to divide the bonds in your own life, within your family, or among your friends. And how can the lessons of these twin sisters guide us all towards greater understanding, deeper appreciation, and endless love? May we all learn to guard our hearts, to silence the spirit of jealousy, and to celebrate each other's light, because the world is always brighter when we shine together. If you'd like more heartfelt stories like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap the bell icon so you never miss a tale from this old voice.
African Moonlight Folktales.